All right. Good evening, good morning, maybe good afternoon somewhere. Welcome to episode 4 of the Great Debate. Last time we had started with NDA. We had said NDA and force majeure clause, but we couldn't complete NDA cases itself. So we decided to make it part 2, which means next fortnight we already have the topic with us, which would be force majeure clause. So quickly, the name is Daman Dev Sood, 35 years in industry, 15, 16 years in resilience. Today we call it resilience. In the past, we used to call it simply BCM. So organizational resilience, operational resilience, crisis management, business continuity management, risk management, that's all that I know. I won awards nationally, globally, multiple times. So I will be the moderator for the evening, morning, afternoon. With me, panelists, Nandini has joined us from Canada. That's great. Nandini, she is pursuing PhD, I believe it's in BCM, is MBA, CBCI, CBCP, something which I have not written, but I know and I would like to say. She knows 7 languages. So I believe that's a great example of personal resilience. Also panelist Saurabh Sharma, who is Chief Manager and CISO at Petronet LNG Limited. I had to invoke double BCM this evening. 2 panelists and the judge, by chance in travel and busy and other activities, couldn't join me. Puneet was the judge for the last fortnight, last episode also. He's traveling. She said she would attempt to record something and send to us. I'll keep looking into. If there's something from her, we'll attempt to play that. And then I requested Pradeep Prasad, who is head global technical operations projects, member security and privacy by design at IBM, and he agreed to help us to be the judge this evening. So welcome to this episode show, which is Fun-cum-Learn activity. So no serious jokes, please. Jokes allowed, but no serious jokes. These are live cases, real cases that I have picked up. Last time we were discussing like that from real NDAs. So I'll present some text and I'll attempt that we spend time, taking your views on those things. So one NDA is saying, this agreement will remain in effect until specifically terminated by both parties. I request panelists first. I believe Saurabh wouldn't mind if I say ladies first and then he goes first. What do we see out of this?
Yeah, thank you, Daman, and thank you, Saurabh, and thank you, Pradeep, for being here, Judge. And so the first sample, again, it says the agreement will remain in effect until specifically terminated. As we discussed last time, I'm kind of a person who wants things to be very clear right when they're starting, right when we are getting into engagement, not after marriage. So I want things very clear when I'm signing the NDA. I'm comfortable only when the starting point, when we are signing the agreement, the date is there, and a specific date or a time period mentioned for the end. Because, there will be chances that both parties may not unanimously agree to terminate it. So again, there will be discrepancies and disputes. So I'm not comfortable signing this.
Okay, thanks. Saurabh, your views.
Yeah, my views are basically similar to the last debate, that agreement NDA should be perpetual. If I am getting any services from any party, so I need my information should be protected for a lifetime, because few information may be there that may not be changed their status in a future time. So I will say that this is a correct line, is saying if the both parties if agree to terminate, then it's only terminated, otherwise it will be ineffective
Okay, good, thanks. Sir, let me become the vendor or employee, and you are the employer or the customer. Doesn't it appear to be a little unfair with me, for me? All other relationships are finishing, ending. But this NDA continues forever, must continue forever. How would I even work with any other company? Or you're saying, Daman, you should never work with any other company, which we know has been happening in the Indian industry recently. The case is Infosys, I believe.
Daman, it's okay. See, all other contracts are terminating, but we are keeping it. NDA is as a intact and in the effect. But you basically see a few informations which I supposed to provide you during the contract may have a impact on the long-term values. Maybe my business strategies, which is for last for next 20 years. So I want to basically protect that information, even though you have terminated the contract or but I want that information should be there and it should be protected. Whenever you require, you can ask me for any concession, or you can say any, or you can ask for the termination also.
Right. Okay. Good. Thanks.
So here I want to ask.
Yes, Pradeep,
Nandini,
I just wanted to come to you. Yes, go ahead, please.
I wanted to ask Nandini, what's wrong? This is an NDA, and say a Coca-Cola sample the ingredients, and therefore maybe 100 years. So if Coca-Cola is giving some contract to someone with some link to the recipe, what's wrong? I mean, we are not talking about an employer, but that's an NDA, non-disclosure. So why would you like to disclose if both parties are agreeing to terminate only mutually?
Thank you, Pradeep. My intention is not to disclose your valuable information. My intent is that I'm not bonded with you or with your organization perpetually or forever, because I have my own brand, I have my own business, I have my own interest. I want to be able to work with other employer or with other organizations and provide my services. If I'm bonded by you forever, then I won't be able to work. And I have attained the knowledge and the information and skill set, all those things working from my experience for the past so many years. I cannot tie down all these things just with one organization. Otherwise, what is the value of my skill set then? And if the intention is not to disclose, sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah,
so I was only saying this is NDA. This is not employment binding, right? This is non-disclosure of something, some critical information.
So Pradeep, I had taken both the cases. When Saurav was speaking, I played the role that I was either an employee or a vendor, also both ways.
Even employee, suppose I am in my company, say Infosys, I get some jewel code. Why would I like to disclose ever in my life? And because that's a jewel code.
So Pradeep, once again, I believe, in life, whatever we do, Nandini was giving an example of marriage. I'm saying even in employment or a vendor or customer relationship, there has to be an element of faith for sure, right? So if I say I'm terminating this, or I would like to get this terminated, or I would like to get some date put on that, that doesn't mean that after that I'll go and start speaking out. No, just
it empowers me. It empowers me.
I may speak out. That's what is required. We say four of you, all three of you, sorry, right? No information, because we are talking of NDAs about information. No information has value forever, right? Today it may be 100 rupees, tomorrow it is 50. After 3, 4, 5, 6 years, we say that the value is 0. So why shouldn't we put a date here? That's the question that comes to my mind.
As a rule, date should be put, but there may be circumstances where say political decisions where whatever. I mean, I am privy to few, defense information. They are never disclosed.
Right. So even if we say Coca-Cola, for example, so patents and my knowledge, I would say, I will stand corrected that even patents are not forever. There is time period to patent. After that, it's free. So why not a
Yeah,
date to an NDA also?
correct.
Yes.
So as
Yes.
a rule, NDA may have a date. I'm not denying that, but this simple statement cannot be absolute. There can be situations, especially mental records, especially family abuse records.
Right.
There'll be n number of cases where you would not like that to be surfaced anytime. And when you say I'm out of NDA, I'll presume you are going to publish it in the top news, newspapers, in the headlines, right? Will I do it or not is not the question. Question is, can I do it? Yes, then I will do it. From that perspective, I was thinking.
So it seems between me and you, there is little lack of faith or trust. You think that the moment it's dated NDA over, the man will go and start shouting in the market.
No. No, question is, why did we have the NDA in the first place? So that something which has some value or which has some negative value also doesn't
And the value
surface.
keeps reducing also, isn't it?
In one case, like in patent, there is a regulation country based after 10 years, after 5 years, after 7 years, when you monetize the thing. So we are not talking about only patents, right? We are talking about so many other things. It's
Right.
NDA. You're not going to disclose something. What is that
Including
something?
so many things.
Yeah.
That I worked with Infosys, for example. I'm just saying I worked with Infosys. I'm not saying at all even a project that I haven't done with Infosys or what type of project did I do for Infosys. That is also an NDA. With this, we actually would like to move on because I will keep an eye on the watch also. Good discussions, I will say. This is what I was saying. It appears to be never-ending agreement. So look at the next one, please. The party receiving confidential information agrees for a period of 5 years for the duration of this agreement, whichever is earlier from the date of first disclosure of such confidential information by the disclosing party. To maintain such confidential information in confidence and refrain from disclosing it to third parties by exercising the same degree of care to preserve and safeguard such confidential information as the receiving party uses to preserve and safeguard its own confidential information, which shall in no event be less than a reasonable care. 5 years or duration of the agreement. And furthermore, this agreement shall terminate 2 years from the effective date, but may be terminated earlier by either the company giving 30 days party and their written notice, to the other party of its intention to terminate. However, termination of this agreement shall not affect the rights and obligations of the parties with respect to confidential information disclosed under this agreement prior to termination. What are your impressions about these? And Saurabh may like to go this first this time.
Just wanted to ask, this is a part 3, 4, both part of the same NDA, or these are two different samples?
No, these are different. Sorry, the same NDA, my mistake. Little long, so it's okay. You're taking a little more time to read before you start commenting upon these or start giving your views on these. Sorry.
So Daman, basically here we are capping the times.
Okay, that's what is very clear, that there's some capping of time. All right.
And again, in the third A point, basically we are bounding the receiving party. So if he or she basically disclose this information to any third party, then he or she should provide safeguard their confidential information as their own confidential information.
All
So
right.
basically, they are basically pressing that they should have an NDA with the third party also.
Okay. Nandini?
Yeah, both parts looks fine to me as far
Right.
as it goes. The first year
You're
says
happy.
5-year duration.
You're happy with this.
Yeah, first says 5-year duration, so I know what is the duration or
Right.
the duration of this agreement, so I'm comfortable. I understand 5 years might sound a big, but sometimes if you are in a very, a senior management role, or if you are in a software agreement where the software installation, implementation, and the software is used forever in organization, so 5 years is not that big of time if the project is big or if you are in a senior management role. So I'm comfortable with 5 years. Whereas the second part, it goes, it's 2 years and effective date. I understand this is. I'm not very clear what the second part says. However, the termination of agreement shall have no effects and rights. So I would like to have more clarification or discussion about that part.
Good, thanks. Pradeep, before I request you to give your views, I'll request attention, all three of you, towards something mentioned here, which shall in no event be less than a reasonable care. Well, this is good according to me. What I'm saying is, if you want to be respected, respect me, please. As simple as that, right? Whatever you want, the way you want it to be treated, you should treat other people like that, something like that. But there is a degree of reasonable care, so it's not clear what does that mean to you. Your definition of reasonable care may be different from my reasonable care. And by the way, this is a contract, which means it could be taken to the court also.
Yeah, even though the wording is not very specific or not very objective by saying reasonable care, but I've seen this is a standard practice. I've seen these terms, wordings in many of the NDA, which just is trying to give you a comfort level that you will definitely take a reasonable care amount of time or precautions to not disclose the information. So I'm comfortable with the words.
Okay, and before we once again I go to Pradeep, quick look at this one, which says 2 years date, 30 days notice acceptable from either party. However, the termination of this agreement shall not affect the rights and obligations of the parties with respect to confidential information disclosed under this agreement prior to termination. So it's again seems that I am bound. I cannot. Then why do we write so many? What I've been saying is all these are real cases, the real NDAs that have been signed. So if you just want to say, Daman, I'll cut your throat, then say that in one sentence. Why do you write 15 clauses, 10 clauses? Roughly, that's not my understanding coming, but we will wait for Pradeep to give his views on 3 and 4 both.
Yeah. So on the reasonable care is vague and
It's vague.
does not seem like enforceable. If they talk about as in line with policies in effect in your own company, that can be a better language than reasonable care. However, the courts do understand reasonable care, reasonable oversight. The courts do understand and they do appreciate, but we can write something better than just reasonable. We can say you will not disclose. And if we are saying you will keep it safe as per your company policies, I'm very sure suppose I am the giving party, then I must have done my due diligence with the legal clauses or legal bindings which are on the employees and the execs of the receiving party.
Right.
5 years or duration of the agreement sounds good in case the agreement is the NDA. So if the NDA agreement becomes 6 years, then the party receiving confidential information agrees for a period of 5 years. Then that becomes I don't know. It becomes very funny, dubious, because agreement is NDA. I'm assuming agreement is not some big agreement of which there is an NDA clause.
Right.
So if the agreement goes to 6 years as para 3 without para 4, then the 5 years becomes wrong. I mean, it's legally not tenable.
Okay.
Because whichever is earlier. So if NDA goes to 6 years, a period of 5 years, whichever is earlier, how is it? I mean, it's completely okay. That's one. And number two, if we say that shall terminate 2 years, then maybe there will be a sub clause that it can extend up to 5 years, whatever, to a maximum 5 years.
Okay. Which I can accept that I have not copied full clauses or sub clauses. I have picked up only few portions from the NDAs, right?
Also not able to hear him.
Very quickly, the number 4, in which I said, you are saying I'll cut your throat, then why are you writing 15 clauses, 3 pages in NDA? Just say, Daman, you cannot do anything about it. Full stop. Forever you are bound with this. This is what appears to me from
you write
this.
15 clauses. You write 15 clauses to amplify because of the experiences where the clauses have been, one clause has been, because of the language which has been breached. So you try to plug as many holes as you see. But the language here is very, very faulty because you're talking about 5 years and duration, and you're saying only 2 years without a clause of extending up to 5 years. And also you're saying rights will be protected, good, but what about the obligations? Because obligation is to keep the information confidential. So when you say obligation will remain the same, shall not affect the obligation, that means you are actually impacting the obligation because the person can disclose now.
Right.
So it's a faulty language.
Right. Okay. And what I've seen, my experience, that if it's a small organization, which most likely doesn't have an established legal department, then NDA is small, simple, sometimes even 1 page. But the moment the size keeps increasing, size of the organization keeps increasing, they have more resources and well-established legal departments, and then these clauses, sub-clauses keep increasing, and the language starts becoming complex also. Thank you very much. Let's move.
It depends on experience also. NDA and the size of NDA increases with the experiences.
Experience also, yes. Because I have burnt my fingers, so I want to put more now.
Right.
Good. This is very long one.
Just wanted to add for the reasonable care on a funny side, Elon Musk sharing his tweets or screenshots is definitely not a reasonable care. And again, when Mr. Pradeep was asking,
But
NDA says 5 years and what is the agreement? So NDA could be NDA and agreement could be another thing, like you are having a software service agreement or any other agreement. So NDA could last for 5 years, but yes, there has to be a clause which says is renewable. The software service agreement could be only for 2 years, but NDA could be for 5 years. That's usual practice also.
Good. Thank you very much. This case is a bit long, so I will not read. I request you all read on yourself. I'm also reading with you. And then we start discussions around this. To make it easy, I have highlighted some portion. Actually, that's where I want to request your attention also. And I'm not asking whether this is right or wrong. The question is, it's been written, it's been signed. How do we ensure compliance to this? Because we have signed it. So before you say that, how do we ensure compliance? An added question will be, does it appear to be familiar? You may not be able to say, yeah, exact this wording I've seen in some of the NDAs. but have you seen this type of language
I can
in
go
an
with it.
That is
Yeah, this is a very common practice, and
common, or
all the software companies or companies where you have been dealing with patent products, or even consulting companies or big four companies or financial institutions like banks, etc.,
okay.
do ask you to sign such causes of termination. I myself have signed exact these terms and conditions
Okay.
quite a few times in my professional experience.
Okay.
This is very common. Having said that, to ensure compliance to this is very, very challenging, very difficult. There has to be a certain degree of faith or trust that you will do this. And also the IT department or the privacy department needs to take stringent and strong controls and mitigations and measures to ensure this compliance. But yes, this is very common, and people do sign it and people do obey and do it. And I personally have done that.
Good. Thank you very much. Saurabh.
So Daman, basically for compliance point of view, yes, it is very unpractical thing. But again, as in
no,
many
sorry,
cases,
not unpractical, challenging.
okay, challenging, yeah. But again, what I have seen in our audit compliance and other things also, basically we are creating the evidences that we are complying these clauses, but it may or may not be actually complying because it's very difficult to comply. So basically, we may, as it is saying that you certified in writing that you have destructed this information, but it practically I may have given such certifications, and but again I may have a copy, or at any point of time I have done some copy, or having a copy saved in my laptop or my desktop, or in my emails also. Sometimes we forward it to our personal emails.
Right.
So it is basically 100% compliance to these things is not possible in my views. But again, for complying, yes, I can give a certificate. Yes, I have destroyed all these information.
Okay. Quickly, before I go to the judge for the evening, Pradeep, it's not only the data roughly, emails or data that is being discussed here. It says even my notes, perhaps I was making some notes on my diary. Even those need to be destroyed. It appears to me as I read it quickly along with you all. Pradeep, your views.
So as it is really challenging, so we can do stepwise what can be done. So one is a paper. When you give a paper, it can always be photocopied and another set can be kept. A complete typical, a private company or corporate may not have the means to prevent that. So one of the ways is you will not carry paper out, like in defense headquarters. Paper doesn't move. I mean, it stays there. That is about the papers. About the notes, so we have in the corporate all those medical transcription and the credit card billing sections where mostly it is what the processing services, global processing services, where a person goes inside the hall without any paper, any pen, and he or she can come out after 4 hours or 8 hours with only whatever they can memorize of the credit card or the social security number. Otherwise they cannot write something and bring in. So that is another way of trying to ensure compliance, and this compliance cannot be, and mostly it cannot be, audit cannot be relied upon. You have to build it into the process. So giving a laptop which has some software which doesn't allow you to upload any third-party software, then it doesn't allow you to copy data on a USB. But suddenly somebody can take another camera and take snapshots of the screen. So the risk still remains, and you can have a strong culture of speak up, so that if somebody is actually violating anything, so someone or the other speaks up.
All right.
I
Good.
think these are the so that software which I was talking about, it actually destroys everything which is there in a laptop.
Right.
So
Good.
these are the ways. Yeah.
Okay. Let me share a live example, a real example from my own life. And I was a service provider and there was a customer. So this NDA is not that NDA. By the way, well, I've been saying all these are real cases have been sent either by me or by someone else. Different clients, different countries also I picked up these from. With that client, it was not NDA as I recollect now. It's about 14 years old story, 15 years old story. In the contract itself, there was a statement like that we would have to delete all information data. Exact wordings not recollected now. I do not have that case with me. Assignment finished, and this was only one payment to be done at the end of the assignment. It was a small assignment. Actually, it was a crisis simulation exercise. So it was just one day job, right, to deliver it. When we raised the invoice, at that time, the project manager raised this point, Daman, but you need to delete, then only the invoice will be passed. So actually the payment got stuck. And I said, I can delete all, but what is the proof that I did it for you? So that agreement, that my proposal, that is confidential information and that is bound under NDA. The work order that you gave me, that is confidential information and that is bound under this. The email exchange that we have, all the data that I saved on my drive, I will delete, but these emails I will not, and these proposals and invoices, even the invoice that this is my property, but it's confidential under the contract between you and me. How can I delete it? So with some difficulty, they agreed, yes, you just confirm this much, that the data saved on laptop, disks, etc., backups, etc., has been deleted. Mails, proposal, and work order, etc., no need to destroy. So this is a real case. I just wanted to bring it out. Thank you very much. Moving on to another one. It seems to me that we may fall short of time today also. There are so many cases that I have picked up. Next one is a bit less text to read, so I'll read it. Go with me, please. And again, I have highlighted some portion where I want your attention specifically. Promptly upon the request of a disclosing party, return and confirm in writing the return of all originals, copies, reproductions, and summaries of confidential information, or at the option of the disclosing party, destroy and confirm in writing the destruction of the confidential information, except for copies generated automatically through data backup and or archiving systems, which are inseparable from copies of other information not covered by this agreement. Panelists first, and we have one of the most experienced auditors in the country with us, Rajesh Zaveri. In between, I'll request him also to switch on camera and give his views. But panelists first. Who would like to take up first? Then the question at the end, I'm saying, is it better?
This seems more practical and better. And I was trying to add the same point in our last conversation, that when you asked what is the proof that you have destroyed. So usually clients or the other parties usually ask you to give it in writing that you have destroyed. And the part which you have highlighted, except for the copies generated automatically, there are certain data backups or archiving systems which you have no control over. So you cannot give it in writing that you have destroyed those copies. So this seems practical and better to me than the last one.
Good, thanks. Saurabh?
Yeah, I fully agree with Nandini. It's much better and it's practically possible to comply to these clauses. It gives basically it basically gives a clarity what you can do and what you can do cannot do. So I can fully comply to this clauses. It's very well written that it is not for, if it is automatically taking a backup or any archiving that is not separable, then it's okay.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah,
Pradeep, expert.
I'll just add one practical real life thing. just 1 second. Like for my practical example, I was just working with Big Four consulting company, and they got a big project from the biggest financial institution bank over here in Canada. And they have asked all the employees of the Big Four consulting, which is around 200,000 employees, to not have any kind of relationship with that bank, which was practically not possible because employees might have loans, bank accounts, debit cards, credit cards, mortgages, car loans. How can you cancel just because you're working with that Big Four consulting company? So they had a lot of pushback from 90% of the employee, and then they had to take back that particular agreement or condition or clause and ask that only employees who are directly working in this project or engagement cannot have a relationship with that bank. So sometimes employees or the third parties or the other parties might, give you an impossible kind of an agreement or a clause just to make sure that their information is, protected, or they are safeguarded here.
Good, thanks. Pradeep, expert comments.
Not expert comments. I'm only thinking confidential information is getting backed up.
Right.
So if that is getting backed up, backing up is for restoration. Otherwise, why should we back up?
Okay.
If we can restore, that means that information is available to us. So
Right.
how can it be inseparable?
How can it be? Sorry.
Inseparable, because it will be, even if it is compressed, it is not inseparable. So this whole clause, I don't understand. This looks very redundant to me, because nothing is inseparable. If you give a confidential information, here is an information, and that gets automatically backed up. You are not actually mixing and matching the data, and you are backing up. And when you restore, you will need that. So if you give me an example, I can think of.
I will attempt. Assume you gave me 100 files, right? Those were on the disk, and those were backed up, right? From disk, removable, easy, but it's still on my tape, on whichever media I've used for backup, right? It can be restored, but doesn't mean that I have ill intentions of misusing it. It's still with me. No one says the information cannot be with you. You cannot use it, you cannot disclose it. Generally, that's what the NDA is, right? When I restore, if it was a tape, if it was a tape, there were 10,000 files on the tape. How do I delete one file or 2, 3, or 4 files? So practically a challenge. That's why perhaps it has been excluded that your backups you can retain, no need to destroy, but that doesn't mean that you are free from this clause. You still have to maintain the confidentiality of the data.
This paragraph doesn't say that if you have kept it in a backup, you cannot disclose. Number one.
All right. Okay. Hold on. As I said, limitation is these are 10, 15 different NDAs. I have picked up only portions.
Okay.
Right? Is clause E, somewhere it has been written. Has been written. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I was from that perspective. Number two, which are inseparable, just because it's painful or tedious to restore. And one more thing, whenever you say this is NDA, that means there is something, maybe, confidential or secret, some kind of tag will be there. If a tag is there and it is there on a magnetic media or optical media, it is very easily searchable. Right. So the inseparable is incongruous here.
All right. Okay. I mean, perhaps there's a debate on one word here. Otherwise, once again, I'm saying this seems to be better to have this type of clause. At least think of, don't become the customer, become the vendor also.
Then okay. Then one thing more I'll tell you here, and it has happened. I will not tell where and how. Right. The best way to hack any system used to be pick up either the tape initially and even the CDs, because many of the archival systems used to keep the data in text, whereas in the live system your data was in a cryptic form. So I would find this to be a very, very dangerous clause, and I would not agree to this. I will not agree to them automatically backing up in a way that it becomes inseparable. If at all it is inseparable, they cannot back it up. They have to back it up in my system or their own system where they must destroy. It's feasible. It's feasible and hence enforceable.
As of now, when we have time, we are reading this and we are commenting on this. But have we ever asked any of our clients or vendors, how do they do backup?
So we can always ask them to work on our
We
systems.
can
I mean, see,
always. Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Yes, Rajesh has switched on camera. So quickly, Rajesh, your views. A minute or so.
Yeah, I think as this data backup and this clause are very very challenging, because at what phase of the project you feel this type of clause can be irretrievable and we can able to work it out. Okay, so that is number one. Second thing, it talks about that archiving with a separate. So it happens, right? You, in the downtime of maybe 1 month or 2 months, whatever backup you have taken, you wanted to be, you can retrieve it, and you can keep it that as a another set of copies with you. Okay, so these are the two things I thought I just said.
Good. Thank you. A quick question out of the cases, if we can be open, right? My experience in 35 years, only one case, that client, because my payment was stuck, this clause came up either through NDA or through the work order, that the month you have to delete the data. Have you ever come across this, whether leaving the company or leaving the country? Don't want to complete this sentence. So I'm saying either leaving the company or leaving the country, that whether you have deleted all the data or whether the month you will comply to this. See, remember you signed this 35 years ago while you joined. Generally NDA is signed once in a life. In part one, last episode also, you were discussing that many times these NDAs are not one-on-one. My company has signed it, and there is a clause in that even if signed by someone, anyone who is working on this assignment, this is applicable to him or her also. So I haven't even seen this. Someone in my company, my bosses have seen it. Challenges? What do you say? Your
No, I think
practical experiences.
Most financial institutions do ask you to give it in writing.
I'm sorry?
Most financial institutions do ask you to give it in writing that you have destroyed or
The question is,
returned.
personally, do I have this experience? I said my experience only once. So that's what I'm not what is done. Have you been asked something like that? If we can be open.
Yes, I have. I have been asked by employer, and I have asked by organization to destroy.
How many NDAs
not to
signed?
return, but to destroy. Yeah.
How many NDAs signed and how many times out of those? So 100 signed once or twice or 20 times it was looked into.
Few. If the organization or if my client is a financial institution or a health organization, definitely.
Good.
Yes.
Saurabh, your views, personal experiences, practical experiences.
No such experience as of now.
Okay.
So yeah, I never ask any agency to basically give us in writing that you have destroyed this thing.
And I'm saying whether it was happy ending of the marriage or whether it was a divorce, we generally never ask this question.
Right.
NDA is not looked into at that time. It is only looked at the time of signing once in the life.
Right.
Pradeep and Rajesh, quickly.
Common thing in sensitive appointments in the defense.
Say that again, please.
It's a common thing in sensitive appointments in the defense.
Good.
Following this, because when you are leaving the job, you have to certify. It's a routine process.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Rajesh, any views? Okay, thanks. Moving on then. Little more again. So I'll be quiet. Let's read it together quietly. And again, focus on the highlighted area. This is the question in mind. So the question is, shall survive the termination of this agreement. What does this mean? You can start one by one.
So as per
Yes,
my
please.
understanding, sometimes you sign the NDA with the intention that either you're going to have a merger or sell or anything, any financial transaction would be going on, or any kind of service agreement will be next step. If that happens, this does not exist or it can be felt as terminated. But if it doesn't happen, for example, you're not buying or selling or there is no financial transaction going on, then you need to explicitly write and terminate this agreement of confidentiality. And the question is, provided the receiver's obligation to maintain the confidentiality information will survive the termination. That means until you terminate this agreement, you will not disclose the information. That's my understanding.
Okay, good. Thanks. Saurabh?
I am fully agree with what Nandini has expressed.
What does this mean? Shall survive termination of this agreement?
Yes,
This is forever
basically,
endless, as the earlier one we had seen. No end date to it. Whatever you do, it will continue. Am I right?
yeah, if any other transaction or any agreement and any other agreement has been done, if any other agreement or any transaction not done, then it will be a everlasting contract.
You can write, you can give a written notice that we did not agree to any financial transaction, so I intend to terminate this agreement. You give the written notice and then you feel that you are free from the obligation.
Good, good. For the judge, I'll make it difficult. I'll attempt to make it difficult. We have written some contracts in life. I'm not saying the official contracts or project contracts. Some contracts, even my life insurance policy is a contract between me and the company. We have written many contracts. Look at some contracts, perhaps when have borrowed money. So it's a loan agreement. Do we recollect there is a language that while it's between me and assume bank, Nandini is the bank. So between me and Nandini, but this continues beyond me to my, for example, family, whoever is the survivor, because they will have to fulfill it. It's not that Daman dies and then loan is gone. Do we recollect something like that? So to Pradeep, that type of question, and then with what happens with respect to NDAs, then we are writing with respect to information or confidential information. Have we seen that type of language in NDAs also? Is it for me only, or does it continue beyond me also?
Yeah, so number one, this clause is in perpetuity. It doesn't die. The non-disclosure is forever. Number one, as I read it. And second, when you talk about the real cases, in many sensitive appointments, you have family members included. I'm signing, but I'm signing that none of my near and dear ones will ever come to know. So survivor is definitely, like you said about life insurance, that is a good example. So this is very simple. I mean, I find this is a okay. This is
common. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is good.
Right. Rajesh, you appear to be unmuted now. So if you want to speak a minute, let's go on. We have about 5 minutes left.
Just wanted to add a point.
Yes,
here,
please.
the termination or the agreement is not for perpetuity because there is a term or a clause which says with a written notice delivery. So once you give a written notice that you intend to terminate this NDA, you are no more obliged.
I read it slightly differently. The agreement, there are, like, and Nandini, you said earlier that, in the first case, there was an agreement and there was an NDA. So here I read NDA is part of the larger agreement. Even if the larger agreement is terminated for various reasons, A, B, C, D, E, and in various modes, this the non-disclosure of confidential information is alive in perpetuity.
That's
It
what
goes
my
on.
understanding also is, that my agreement may complete successfully, unsuccessfully, whatever work I was doing for you, but you say the one NDA continues forever, which is cause of concern to me. It hurts me. I don't mean to say that I want to sell your information, right? I don't want to mean that I will use your information, but I don't want to stay bound with that agreement. That if by chance, unknowingly, by mistake, I speak up, then I'm held responsible, or I could be taken to court or whatever XYZ implications of that for me. So that's what my concern becomes. But as I said, all these were real cases. Thank you very much. Next time, we know in about a fortnight, I'll schedule once again. The topic will be the force majeure clause. Once again, a famous one that is close to BCM out of maybe 20 or 100 clauses that we write in the agreements and contracts. Intention is to have different panelists and different judges every time. We'll attempt to do that, right? But I look forward to you participating. Quickly, I wanted to show some other activities from me coming up. Some of you may realize that there has been something called Bringle with my name for about last 9 months. So this is a dream, big dream, making India a financially free country, sorry, and making it $5 trillion economy, the dream of the current PM and the current government. Zero unemployment through employability enhancement. We are coming out with a blueprint. Our approach, we are calling it Sone Ki Chidiya Ko Jagao. The book should be out in August, but pre-booking is now available. My request is please buy this book, which means booking as of now, it's just 300 rupees. It's not a donation. I'll say this is contribution to the country. Our guarantee is that 100% profits would be invested into education in the rural areas in the country. So please help us. I look forward to this from you. Also, next webinar from IEEE platforms. The topic is copyrights, what, why, and how. Just for information, 26th of April is a global World IP Day. So I spoke in a conference on 26th also, but on this platform on 28th in the evening, 6 p.m. Please register here. All participants get certificate as well as a free book, soft copy. It's not my book, but I have the permission from the authors to share it with people. So that's what we will do. And episode 5, as of now, blank, but I'll start filling in these blanks quickly. Stay tuned. Keep looking at my information. And if you all don't mind, switch on your cameras. I would like to take a picture also and use it. I hope no challenges. You all will become global celebrities. Rajesh, are you still around?
1 sec, let me switch on the
Camera.
no, light.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I can give you light from here if you wish. Rajesh, are you around? Can you switch on the camera, please? I'll take a picture. Give me the best smiles, please. Yes, you're shining, Pradeep. And if you want to have overall final comments, one by one, few seconds, everyone, 30 seconds, everyone, I'll be good. About the session, about the whole program, the great debate, etc., etc. Go ahead, please. No one is perfect. I'll be happy to make any changes.
This is fun. I really enjoyed it, and great initiative of Sone Ki Chiri also. I would be more than happy to contribute and do my part. Great. And really happy, excited, honored to be part of Great Debate, and definitely I will follow and watch as an audience in next episodes. Thank you for giving.
Thank you very much.
Pradeep. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, Pradeep.
Judge for the evening. Closing comments also from you, Pradeep.
Yeah, okay. So Saurabh and Nandini, wonderful job. Thank you, Rajesh, for pitching in as required. Daman, good homework, very, very extensive. And I like the depth in which you have gone, and definitely thought-provoking. And I learned so much from Nandi and Saurabh. So thank you so much. That's all. Yeah, all the best for all your next ventures.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sarab, closing comments.
Yeah, it's basically a great platform to having a fun and getting a learning from a learning panels and judges. It gives me a new perspective to the understanding of different clauses and contracts. Then naturally it will help me in my professional life as well as in a personal life. Thanks, Daman,
Great.
for having me on this panel, giving me the opportunity to learn from our peers. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rajesh, if you're around, we'll wait for a few seconds for you to switch on camera or unmute and speak. If you ask me, I'll say this way, that no one is perfect in this world. Learning is forever. I'm a lifelong learner myself, and I also have to learn today. I keep learning. I'll keep improving. Let's do this. Continue with this activity. I look forward to your participation. Without you, it will not be successful, even if I keep scheduling, right? So while closing, I suggest we clap for ourselves. Thank you very much. See you in next episode, episode 5 of the Great Debate. We are still experimenting, so maybe date time will change. My suggestion now coming up is that it will be Saturdays, same time, roughly 8:30. The reason 8:30 we kept was that in first two, there were people coming from the far away also. This time becomes a bit suitable for them, while in India, it becomes a little late for us. From far east, it's too late, they are not able to come. But for that, for them, even 5, 6 in the IST time starts becoming late. So at least one part of the world can attempt to be here with us. That's why the time is 8:30. Right. Thank you very much. See you again. Bye-bye.